There are moments on a long night train when the silence gets too heavy, when the blue corridor light makes the sleeping passengers look like something other than sleeping. Marcus had ridden overnight trains before, but that night, somewhere between one dark station and another, he made the mistake of getting up.
TheSpiritvox, it's alive.
It was past 2 in the morning when Marcus finally gave up on sleep. The overnight Amtrak from Chicago to New York had been full when it left the station. Now, deep in the Illinois countryside, it felt abandoned. The bunk cabins on both sides of the corridor were dark. Every curtain was drawn. Every berth was filled with a shape wrapped in white bedding, still silent, completely motionless. Marcus stood in the narrow passage and looked down its length. The overhead bulbs had dimmed to their night setting. Pale blue light washed over everything, making the corridor look like the inside of something cold and biological, like a vein, like the inside of a long, slow-moving thing that breathed. He needed the bathroom, that was all. Simple reason to be up. He told himself that several times. But he didn't move. He just stood there, staring at the far end of the car. There was a door down there, yellow light bleeding around its frame, a narrow rectangle glowing in the dark like the last exit from a world that was closing in around him. Something about that door made his chest tighten, not the door itself, more the feeling that once he walked through it, he couldn't come back. He looked left, he looked right. Everyone was still. He couldn't tell if they were breathing. He finally made himself walk. One step, then another. He was nearly at the far door when something touched his face. It was cold. Not cool. Cold. The kind of cold that has no warmth underneath it, like touching metal left out in a February field. Marcus grabbed at it instinctively and felt fingers close around his wrist. A hand, hanging from the middle bunk to his right. He let go immediately, stumbled back. The hand swayed once and went still, dangling pale from the gap in the curtain. He stood there and stared at it. A person. Just a person who'd rolled over in their sleep. A hand hanging out of a berth. That's all. That's all it was. But the hand was so cold. His brain started doing things he didn't want it to do. It started counting the bodies in the bunks and telling him that none of them had moved. Not once. Not a single one through Chicago, through all those miles of darkness. It started whispering that the train was a container, that he was the only one still alive in it. He ran. He didn't decide to run, his legs just did it. He hit the far door at full speed, yanked the handle, and burst through into the coupling vestibule between cars. The vestibule was loud and cold and real. Marcus pressed his back against the wall and let his breathing slow. Out here, the noise of the wheels was raw and unfiltered. The floor vibrated under his feet. The door behind him was still closed. Nobody had followed him. He was okay. He was outside the corridor. He was fine. Then the bathroom door clicked open. A boy stepped out, maybe 12, 13 years old. School uniform, white button-down shirt, khaki shorts, dark shoes. He was wiping his hands on a white handkerchief. In that moment, he looked so normal, so ordinary, that Marcus almost laughed with relief. Another living person. A kid up in the middle of the night, just like him. The boy finished wiping his hands, folded the handkerchief carefully, and tucked it into his breast pocket. Then he looked up. Marcus's relief lasted about 1 second. He knew that face. Not in the way you recognize a stranger from somewhere you can't place. Not a passing resemblance or a trick of the light. This was Danny Holt, his best friend from elementary school, skinny Danny with the gap teeth and the oversized backpack, who had drowned in the river behind Riverside Park on a Tuesday afternoon in late August 22 years ago. The same Danny that Marcus had let go of. They'd been swimming. The current pulled them both out. Danny grabbed for him once, twice, 3 times, his fingers closing on Marcus's wrist every time. And Marcus, terrified and thrashing, had wrenched himself free and kicked away toward the shallows. They found Danny the next morning, 2 miles downstream. The current had taken him into the rocks. Marcus had never told anyone what really happened in that water. The boy looked exactly as Marcus remembered him from childhood. Young, slight. The same uniform they both wore at Jefferson Elementary, except his clothes were wet, not damp, soaked. Dark patches spread from his collar across his shoulders, down his arms, the fabric clinging. His shoes left small wet prints on the floor of the vestibule. The water dripped slowly from the hem of his shorts, 1 drop at a time, in perfect rhythm with the train. Marcus couldn't speak. His mouth was open, but nothing came out. His mind was throwing everything it had at the wall. It's a dream. It's the dark. It's a stranger who just looks like him. It's the exhaustion. It's the motion of the train. None of it stuck. The boy tilted his head slightly. Then Marcus remembered something he had not let himself think about in over 2 decades. Remembered seeing Danny in the funeral home, in an open casket in that same uniform. He remembered that one side of Danny's face had been damaged by the rocks and the river. He remembered that the left eye, or was it the right, had been covered with a small patch of gauze. He remembered being too scared to look directly at it. He had always told himself it was the left. The boy in front of him smiled just slightly and said, in a voice that was too quiet for the noise of the train, and too clear and too close, "You always thought it was the left eye. It wasn't." He turned his face into the light. The right eye was gone, not closed, not covered. Gone, a hollow dark space where an eye should have been, perfectly still, catching no light because there was nothing there to catch it. Marcus's voice came back to him as a scream that went nowhere. His throat locked. His back found the wall behind him. The boy didn't move toward him, didn't move at all, just stood there. Patient, with that half smile and that hollow socket, and the slow dripping of river water from his soaked uniform onto the floor of the vestibule. Then the wet hand came up and reached toward Marcus's face, the same cold he'd felt before, worse now, deeper. Marcus did not feel himself fall. When the morning crew found him, Marcus was slumped against the vestibule wall between cars 7 and 8, unconscious, breathing, no injuries they could find. He came around to fluorescent light and a conductor kneeling over him, asking if he was diabetic, if he'd had anything to drink. He was alive. He was fine, physically, completely fine. They checked the passenger manifest. No children were listed in his car or the adjacent car or anywhere on the train. No school-age passengers at all on that route. The bathroom was empty, dry, but on the floor of the vestibule, half under the heating grate, there was a white handkerchief, small, folded into a neat square, and it was soaking wet. And that's the story of Marcus and the night train. Some things that follow us don't travel by road. They don't need an address. They just wait for the lights to go low and the world to get quiet enough. If you've ever felt something on a night train, a bus, a long dark road, drop it in the comments. We read every one. Subscribe to TheSpiritvox for more stories that stay with you after the lights go out. And whatever you do tonight, try to sleep